indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First on the agenda is Pam Goffman.
Okay, first off I have is payroll that was distributed on 8/31 for $145,998.61 to all county employees.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made, second, approved, carried 3-0.
Okay, next is I have claims. All the county claims for county general, highway, and advances. There was one more, I did mail them to you for your review. There was one that came in that I've got now that Susan did add in. It was for the EMA storage building. That was for an additional $70,800. So that makes your grand total for all the claims $1,977,611.86.
Any discussion?
No.
I'll make that motion to approve the claims.
Second.
Motion made, second, carried 3-0.
That is all I have.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Jim Carter, future animal shelter.
Can I take this off?
Yes, as long as you social distance.
Okay. You want me to pull it back, Pam?
You're fine.
First thing I want to tell you is that I'm here as a concerned citizen, not, I do not have permission to discuss as representing the Humane Society. So I'm here as a concerned citizen, okay? So, not the Humane Society, okay? Basically, what I want to talk about real quick, obviously it's on the agenda, is I want to talk about the shelter, but I want to remove your mind from the shelter after that. So I'm going to go through a quick synopsis. I'll get my glasses. Basically, we go back a year ago, September 3rd, the directors of the shelter sent a letter of intent. And the letter of intent basically stated that they were dissolving the shelter and that on November 30th, 2019. And the purpose of this letter is to advise you of our actions and to give you the opportunity to determine the future of the Perry County Animal Shelter. Upon the cessation of our operations, we intend to transfer our assets to Perry County, Indiana, in a fashion determined by further discussions between our corporation and the county commissioners. And that's ongoing. That's been 280 days, so that's ongoing. Also, on October 7th, the commissioners signed an agreement with the Animal Control Board to give them an amount of money, which is basically $36,421 and divided by 11 months, which was $3,011 per month, ending on November 30th. It was a modified contract, and also in that contract it stated from the shelter that they did not have to take any more animals after October 7th. At that time, the shelter was going through problems with its roof, and the information I had that late winter, early spring, that the roof was fixed. So the building is now fixed, but it is also has a rental, and the rental is rented by Randy Stroop, who's the head of First Class Trucking, as you know. He pays $1,600 per month, or $19,200. He's been doing that. He's still continuing, and I talked to him this morning, and he would like to intend to continue renting if the county takes over the building. And I would like to add that means there's approximately $14,000 plus from that rental that was given to the Animal Control Board. Now, I also did...
Excuse me.
Animal shelter.
Was it given to the Animal Shelter Board?
Animal Shelter.
Okay, I thought that's what you meant.
I may, if please clarify me, so I.
Okay, that's one, okay.
Because I'm thinking about, I don't think too well after I turn 70, which is a long time ago.
Okay, no, I thought that was what you
Okay.
meant.
Anyway, I did some cost for the cost of the animal shelter, and I came up with the actual monthly cost of what it takes to operate the shelter. And it's basically at $500 or less. I did the averages on all the utilities with Carrollton Utilities, and also Ohio Valley Gas from Carrollton, and they gave me the average for the gas, which was 120. The average for electric, utilities, water, et cetera, was 302, so it ends up being 422. And there's also an annual tax of $92.30 on the rental, which divides that into $83, which would not have to be paid later. But anyway, the total amount was $505. Now, if you subtract $505, which is their average utilities, you get from $1,600, you get well over $1,000 that they've put in the bank, not counting maintenance. I have no idea what they paid in maintenance, but it's been very low, and the utilities have been very low. So anyway, I just want to let you know there's approximately $1,000 or more after the cost of operating that is going into the Animal Shelter Board, the Animal Shelter Incorporated. And I'd like to see that come to the county. So getting to the second phase of that, what I'd like to see is, as soon as possible, a contract, actually the contract with the Animal Shelter Board for the county to take possession and all of its assets. And there's got to be more than 14,000 because there was assets, so I'm figuring at least $25,000 in assets at the shelter right now, in the corporation. So what I'd like to see is the $1,600. Well, let me back up a little bit. The money that's being spent every month, $1,600, could have been going to the county if the county were to take possession. So I'm hoping that this, that we endeavor to try to get this taken care of so that $1,600 can go to the county, and I'll tell you why. The commissioners have appropriated $35,000 for animal shelter, okay? There is no one right now that's willing to, or has, other than Herbie, that's came forward and is willing to offer a contract or ask to go into a contract to use that money. I know I'm getting enemies from the Humane Society, but I believe that $35,000 could be better spent in other ways than the animal shelter, because there is no animal shelter, and if we purchase the building, it's not an animal shelter. And the purpose of the building would be to house the animals that would be impounded through the Animal Control Board and the Health Department. Now, I don't know if you know this, I actually talked to BOA this morning, Indiana State BOA. I also talked to CDC. And right now, they have no idea what's going on because there are animals now contracting COVID, and they do not have a plan. And the national told me that it would be up to the states, and the states is actually going to put it right down to the county level. So whatever plans is probably going to be until something hits the fan. Whatever facilities the county has, or whatever facilities anybody has. So we have a building that if we purchase the building with $1, or if it's given to us for $0, the county now has a building it can use. It has a facility that many other counties would love to have for nothing, and it's going to get $1,600 a month. Utilities paid, and on my approximation, at least $1,000 that I think should be going to the Animal Control Board. And the reason I'm saying that is we don't have a shelter. But if we could get this building, we'll have a building to use. $1,600 covers and $500 covers all the utilities. So you're talking about over $1,000. And our animal control board is now up against the wall because we don't have any cats that are in the shelter that need to be taken care of. And the animal control board, if it had adequate amount of money, then they could operate a lot more efficiently. And I still think the $35,000, because we don't have a shelter, I think it should be put to other uses. So my concept is, we're getting $19,200 a year to basically have a building that the Animal Control Board can use for what the state law requires. Save the $35,000, and if we do get a contract, the money that's already being held, as Chris had said, all that money shall be used for shelter, then we already have probably half a year's monetary amount to be able to cover that. So my proposition is, get into finish those negotiations, get the building, find out what the assets are, and get what happened, and open up an office so that the Animal Control Board can have an office there. And we can also invite public so the Animal Control Board, that people can know what they do and see them. So it's my concern is, right now, it's a losing situation. If we're losing, basically, we've already lost $14,500 this year that we could have had for every month. Actually, that's from January on, but for every month that we don't have that building, we're losing $1,600. It's not being taxed, it's from rental. It could be used, I think, more efficiently. So, I'm just going to summarize this. I've already said this, but I'm not a great speaker, I'm sorry. At this time, Perry County does not have an animal shelter, but it still has an animal control ordinance that has to be recognized. You have an opportunity to have and utilize a building at no taxpayer's expense that will eventually be reborn as a shelter and help many animals find homes. But now think of it as a building that is used by the Animal Control Board for impoundments required by the state and our local health department, with funding to pay for animal costs determined by the board at no cost to the public. You can do this if the county acquires a building. This is the first step towards a path to renew the shelter. So basically my proposal is, I don't know how far I know Chris is in negotiations, but let's get this done so that we can get some money to help the Animal Control Board operate. Anybody got any questions?
Any questions or discussion?
Well, thank you for, look like you were doing your homework, Jim. Where we're at, and Chris might be able to share some more light on this, about 2 months ago, the roof looked like was fixed. And at that time, one of the board members I talked to, and I said, well, for next step, you need to get with our attorney. And I asked, well, their attorney retired. And I think Chris was going to take on the transfer, but it was up to them to come to Chris to do that. And that's kind of where we've been setting. Have you heard anything from him, Chris?
We're trying to set up a meeting now with them to get that done.
Okay.
The building is, as far as I'm aware, finished. It's weather tight. You know, we can't force them to give us the building, so we need to operate on their timetable as well. And they're ready to get it done, but they just haven't gotten with me yet to do that. So I expect it to happen soon.
Yes.
What's soon? I expect it to happen, I would think, within the month.
And the reason I came here, Chris, was because I was looking at the end of the year, and I'm figuring, okay, if we can get this thing into January, then the commissioners could appropriate and then give the council that money difference from the cost of running the shelter to give to the county, the Animal Control Board, because we're getting more and more problems, and we're going to have a lot more problems, and they should have the money to operate with. And especially if it's not coming from the taxpayer, especially if it's, like I said, it's a win-win situation. We've got a building, and Randy Stroop, by the way, was very adamant, I ain't gonna say adamant, he was very happy about the fact that the county at this time would agree to have him still stay with rental. And I said, I think it's important. Well, the only thing I would think from you is every third year renegotiate, the contract. But he said he wanted to be a good neighbor and he was all for it. He also liked the idea of somebody being in that shelter because he's got equipment in that shelter. And obviously, he's concerned about security. And if the more people you've got in there, the more security you've got that's watching for that. So it's a win-win situation. And I think this way, like I said, they've got $14,400. In my estimation, going by what I was told by all the utilities and all the costs, I don't know what their maintenance is, but there's been a gutter down for 4 months and they haven't touched that gutter, so they're not paying too much on maintenance, all right? So, and they had a tremendous amount, I'm gonna say tremendous amount, but plenty of money to fix any minor things. So I give you a very low cost, because it's actually in the 400s, the average is in the 400s, but I give you a $500 average. So, and I've got all the details, information that I've been collecting for a long time, but especially this year, because I went back and they averaged this for 1 year, what it cost to run the shelter. And I got the whole thing, plus the tax. And the tax is only being paid on the rental portion of it, which is $992. So the only thing that the county's going to lose is $992, but they're going to gain $16,000 or $14,900. So if you subtract that,
Well, just so you understand too, the $35,000 is what we put in our budget and ask the council when they do their budget, if there's money available, we ask them to put $35,000 in that account for us. So if, like your plans is that we don't need the $35,000 for animal shelter, if we do that, then and the council has approved $35,000? No, if they do, okay.
I'm saying you gotta separate building from shelter.
Right, what I'm saying is the $35,000 is asked for shelter
Right.
services.
Right.
And that's in our account, that's in our budget.
Right.
But the budget has to be approved by the council.
Yes, and I'm aware of that. That's why I
Right.
turned to the council and said, I see that the $35,000 could be used different ways because I know this year is going to be tough. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I help the county? How can I save them money? And this is the money that's not even being used. It could be used as the sooner that we get them to agree to turn over the assets. Plus, that was the letter of intent. And that letter of intent carries weight. Correct, Chris?
We don't have a binding contract with them, but
I
there's
didn't
no
see-
reason to believe that they aren't going to do what they say they're going to
Okay.
do.
But anyway, I'm not, I don't want to be here to, I just think it's time that we start really getting there and get it done by the end of the year so we can look at the commissioners putting a good, and I'm thinking $1,000 a month for them patrol board. That's my, and an office. So since it's already going to be heated, it's already going to have water, it's already got that, it's already paid for, why not use it?
Mhm. I agree with you, but when it becomes ours, and that's a process.
Well, that's why I'm here to kind
Mhm.
of
Push it, yeah.
push the issue.
Yeah, hey Jim, just because if they give us the building, which they're supposed to, and then for an animal shelter, then we're gonna be looking for the community to form a board to form a new animal shelter. Well, our hands will be free from it then, just like it has been in the
I
past.
understand.
So, and that's why we're leaning on the council for the 35,000, if that happens by first of the year or not.
I understand, but until, and this is my second portion now, until they hand over the building with your assets, you won't know what you've got, you don't know how much to use, and the sooner you know that, then the sooner the council can say, oh, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, you're right. I'd like to know how much before budget time they're going to hand over to us when the shelter hands over.
Which
Is it?
is why I'm here
Yeah.
today.
So the roof costs quite a bit. We know that. So we wanted that done. So
Does it
we
make
was aware
sense?
of that.
Does
So
it make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it does.
so
How about you, Bill? You haven't said, you've been very quiet.
I'm okay with what you're doing.
Mhm. Yeah. But as soon as we know what we're getting, then hopefully we'll have that before budget time so they know what to budget.
The second part is to make sure the Animal Control Board has money to operate, okay?
Then one request I would like, not to you, Jim, but I know the mayor of Canton's here. If the council comes up with their 35,000, I'd like to see Tell City come up with theirs and Canton also, their portion. So, thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, sir?
Instead of going to miscellaneous, do you want me to follow him since,
If you want to.
I mean, it's basically the same thing, same issues. And if Jim can remember his questions and ask them, I'll try to answer them. But you had so many that I don't know if I can get them all answered. But first of all, the county has no say-so. Until the board for the Perry County Animal Shelter turns this over to them, if you irritate them, they can turn that same money, they can sell that building and turn everything they have over to the DuBois County Animal Shelter, Hancock County, ITV, whoever. They need to turn that over according to their articles of incorporation to a likewise entity that's something to do with rescuing animals. They can turn it over to the county and the county can lease it to ITV or a board that we form. And we've got so close to where we're at now, I don't see any reason to look for any other avenue and even attempt to think about giving up the shelter. They've approved it. Tell City's pretty well guaranteed it. So we're close enough, it's down to the councilman approving the money. I had a conference meeting this week with Susan Odioyo, the lady that founded ITV, and that's part of what I'm supposed to be telling them tonight, is ITV will consider a contract based on the amount of money. If the council approves the money, within 60 to 90 days, we will either form a board, officers, and have people in the county running it, or we will have people in the county working it and ITV overseeing it. I just checked my phone, I don't have it right now. I assume you didn't talk to Tom Brown, so I went ahead and got a hold of the
Right.
Spencer County attorney. And since it's public record, he sent me a copy of ITV's contract. So now we can review ITV's contract and see if we want to make any changes. And we're right now talking to them about the square miles and the population and the amount of money. But they've agreed that if we get an agreement with them, they will run it just like I stated to you guys for 1 year and then rediscuss where the cost is and make an adjustment even if it goes down. So as far as the shelter part, I mean, the money you spoke of, and I'm not going to say any kind of numbers, there's a lot more than that. I spoke to Steve 3 times this week. He told me he was going to get hold of Chris, which I think he has.
He did.
And they should be making the move to turn over the building, all of the cages, dog boxes, assets, and all of the funds that's in the account, which is 2 times what you're talking about.
Well, I expected that, Norm, but like I said, the reason I want to make that public today was because it's time that we kind of treat the issue.
I agree. I wish we'd have done 8 months ago, but we don't. But I mean, I've been meeting with people and trying to get something going ever since they closed it down. And I feel we're closer now than we ever have been. Basically, the money is the holdup. If everybody comes up with the money, the shelter should be able to be open, I would say, within 90 days, either through ITV or through a local group, one of the two.
Well, I disagree. I think the whole is for Chris and Steve to get together and sign that over. That's the whole. Once that building is the county owned, belongs to the county, everything else will fall in place somehow. That's why. But at the end of that, right now, I'm thinking of it as a building that the county can use.
Well, if you're right, then he gets a building in the next 30 days, 35,000 from the county, which is all in place. We won't have any problems.
I'm not disagreeing at all.
Any other questions about the shelter?
No, I know you put a lot of work in, Herb, and we appreciate it. And, because there's a lot of details that iron out, but, Jim is right too, that before we have the building, I mean, and when that gets accomplished, and the way I understand it, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, that part of the agreement to turn the building over, or the articles of incorporation of the animal shelter, that any assets have to be used for animal shelter, and we have no legal way of doing anything but.
Yeah, the deal is that the building has to be used for animal shelter purposes, and the money that they turn over to us also has to be used for animal shelter purposes.
And that'll all
And
be.
the plan is to pass an ordinance or resolution from the commissioners setting up a dedicated account for that money to be placed into just for animal shelter services. And we talked about that a long time
But
ago.
also, Chris, believe that should be slightly modified to animal services and animal control.
But you need to understand, Jim, I can only do what they have the right to give us or not give us that money, so they set the rules on that one. I can talk to them about that,
Yeah, I would.
but they set the rules
Because you
on.
need.
Because they're a private organization.
We might go 6 months with still no shelter, but we need animal control. So, I'm just asking, I'm just saying,
No, I don't disagree. I understand what you're saying, totally.
Hopefully it will be a lot shorter than 6 months.
And on Randy's part, he's got a 10-year contract and got escalators already built in. So you'd have to make that contract null and void to renegotiate annually, since he's got escalators already built in, because the existing
Right.
existing Perry County
That's correct.
animal shelter, to protect the county, built the escalators in when they negotiated a 10-year contract.
Yeah, he's bound to he's got a lease,
Yeah.
a written lease.
Hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have something.
Like I said, I just feel it's closer now than it has been,
It is. It gets closer every day.
but it's took a heck of a long time.
Well, in fairness, the problem with the roof has been a long, long problem to solve. And that's primarily what we've been waiting
It
on.
was unforeseen.
and it's the type of roof.
When I talked to Steve.
Do what?
It's the type of roof.
I mean, we don't, the
I'm
county.
not gonna.
No, I mean,
Try to be a
it's-
construction
No, it's just-
expert here. The problem was the roof.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
county doesn't want to take over a building that has immediate maintenance needs, right? I mean, because you don't want to spend all the money that we've got dedicated to animal control to fix a building.
Well, they
So,
also fixed the boiler, which is for the
That's-
heat.
yeah.
They fixed a lot of the inside roof. But Steve told me Thursday before he supposed to call you,
yes,
that everything on the building is fixed, everything on the building's paid for. All the money that you're talking about minus the overhead is there, plus the remainder of the money that was there
Mhm.
when they started doing the repair is all there also. They still have boxes and all kinds of stuff, so I mean, and I think it's 24 dogs, 7 quarantine dogs, 21 cats, 6 quarantine cats. So, I mean, and we're a lot better off than Spencer County is if we ever get the shelter going, which I think we will. And then if the commissioners want, the board will oversee whatever part through ITV or through the people that's running, whichever.
And I still want, I do believe that the additional money in our budget that we're asking to be passed, I believe that we need that to make this, so.
Well, we need,
I'm not arguing that fact, I would just want to know that if this doesn't pan out, we gotta figure out ways to make sure that the money's used. It can't be used for certain things, it can be used for the county's.
Right. And you can always transfer within the budget, and you can always reappropriate it out to something else. But we don't know where the budget's gonna be, so we don't know how much we're gonna have. I think he's got an idea, but I don't think he's worked it all out yet.
I think there's a long ways to go yet on that budget, isn't there, Dave?
You're not putting me on the spot, Dave. but-
Mm.
yeah, any questions?
A lot of cutting.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for your work.
All right.
All right. Next subject, it's not on the agenda, but it's been brought to our attention by Sheriff Malone about an ordinance for grass clippings blown onto which has been an issue onto the county road. And Chris has written up a draft. Would you care to read it, Chris?
Yeah, Tom asked me to put together a draft of, to cover grass clippings and other items thrown up on the road. So this is an ordinance prohibiting placing injurious material upon highway, removal of such substances. Whereas grass clippings and plant debris in the road are hazardous, or a hazard to motorcyclists, and tacks, bottles, wire, glass, nails, grass clippings, or other yard waste and vegetation, snow, or other articles are that's not right. I love it when I find a typo in the middle of my ordinance. Of destructive or injurious material may damage or injure persons, vehicles, or animals traveling upon such highway, and whereas counties are granted the power under Indiana Code to adopt ordinances, it is therefore ordained by the Perry County Board of Commissioners as follows. Number 1, no person shall place or normally drop or throw upon any part of a lane, highway, road, street, or alley any tacks, bottles, wire, glass, nails, grass clippings, or other yard waste and vegetation, snow, or other articles or destructive or injurious material which may damage or injure any person, vehicle, or animal traveling along or upon such highway, except such substances that may be placed on the roadway by proper authority for the repair or construction thereof. Number 2, any person who places or knowingly drops or throws or permits to be dropped or thrown upon any part of a highway, lane, road, street, or alley any tacks, bottles, wire, glass, nails, grass clippings, or other yard waste or vegetation, snow, or any other articles or destructive or injurious material which may damage or injure any person, vehicle, or animal traveling along a highway shall immediately remove the same. 3, any person authorized to remove, erect, or damage vehicle from a highway, lane, road, street, or alley shall remove any glass or other injurious substance dropped upon the highway, lane, road, street, or alley from such vehicle. 4, no person shall place any obstruction in or upon a highway, lane, road, street, or alley without proper authority. 5, except as otherwise provided, any person violating a provision of this chapter shall be deemed guilty of an offense and fined not less than $50 for a first offense, not less than $100 for a second offense, not less than $200 for all subsequent offenses, with the fine to go into the county's general fund. But no fines for any individual offense shall exceed $2,500 plus costs and attorney fees where a judgment has been entered. 6, an action under this ordinance may be brought by the Perry County Attorney or the Perry County Prosecuting Attorney. 7, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon passage and publication. There's no magic to those dollar amounts. You can make them any amount you choose in the ordinance. And you know, the purpose here is to prevent people from placing items in the street that's going to hurt somebody. I mean, that's the long and short of it. And whether that's throwing your snow from your sidewalk onto the street or grass clippings or anything else.
Or anything deemed dangerous
Being dangerous.
to travel.
Can I ask a question there? Does that go for the county when they're mowing and stuff too?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
it does.
Mhm.
It does. Now, keep in mind, too, this does not cover state highways. We don't have control over state highways. We only have control over county highways.
Mhm. Any other question,
It was
discussion?
asked today, is this is not including city, because I know it was asked today. This is not including anything in city limits either, is it?
City
have
has, I think they have their own ordinance.
They have their own,
Right.
okay.
They do.
Yeah,
Okay,
so this would not.
okay.
Alan, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I am. Since I've been sheriff, I've had numerous requests and complaints about, mostly it's just about the grass clippings. You know, we live in southern Indiana, one of the best places to ride a motorcycle. And I've got numerous complaints. I've known of several accidents that as I've been sheriff for 5 years, I've known of 2 accidents that happened, and they said it was because of the grass in the roadway, that it's become very, very slick to a motorcycle. So I'm happy to see this. I know a lot of people will be happy. I think it makes it safer, and if we can save one life, that's what it's all about there, so.
And we cannot pass an ordinance to govern state highways, so
No.
this just can govern county roads.
Yeah. And the only problem we see is some local, some residents that cut it, they can throw it out there, but as long as we're gonna give them warning to try to get it back up. I mean, it's impossible to keep all of it out of there, but they're gonna try to get most of it up. We'll try to police that best we can.
Well, and part of it, dangerous amounts, I mean, that's basically
Yes.
what it says. So.
Yeah, it's an amount that is destructive or injurious, and that may damage or injure persons. So, if there's 6 blades of grass on the road, let's not be unreasonable here. This is blowing grass on the road.
Right.
Or any other debris.
Or other debris.
The grass on the road, I've been riding since 1965 motorcycle. Grass on the road's like trying to ride a motorcycle on ice. It is very slick, and if it's wet, it's even more shit, and it don't take much to drop a bike on that type of road surface.
One thing too, over the years, our highway department has improved our county roads to the point where we get a lot of outside visitors, just like what Alan said, with motorcycles, bicycles, and everything else coming through our county. So we're glad we got the good roads, and we're glad we got the people coming visiting Perry County. We need to protect them, so I think it's a good thing.
Bill, any comment? Good. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion, approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made, second carried 3-0.
I'll fix the typo on the first page. It'll be published in the paper and it'll take effect after publication.
Okay. Do we need to sign this tonight,
Yeah.
or you have to fix it?
Your second page, second sign.
You can, yeah, sign the second page. The only correction is to add an S after the word article in the first paragraph. The rest of it's fine.
All right. Next on the agenda, and Chris, I need to ask, we have, on the CARES Act funding, we have replaced an ambulance because we had one that blew an engine. It's one that was, we had a dedicated transport vehicle for COVID-19, and it is not worth fixing. So we've got the replacement in, and do we need to declare it as surplus, or what do we need to do with the old one?
Yeah, to dispose of it, you need to declare it as surplus.
Okay, is that something we can do tonight, or,
You can.
okay, do you need specifics, or do you want to do it at a different meeting?
Well, it needs to be sufficient that the records reflect what you're declaring surplus, so type of vehicle. If you had a VIN number, that'd be great. If you don't, you can wait till the next meeting and do it then.
Okay, so, I mean.
For the State Board of Accounts, Tom, you need to have a specific
The
VIN number and
specific-
everything. Yeah.
But that's what, if you two want to think about it, that's what I would want to propose next meeting, that the one that we just, because I don't think it's got any value at all. I mean,
It didn't have one of the new boxes on it, neither did it.
No, it
Okay.
cannot be remounted.
Yeah.
We can do
And,
it tonight then.
huh?
We can do it tonight then, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
As long as you have to specify something for the State Board of Accounts to know which vehicle you're talking about.
Okay, so I don't have the VIN number with me, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Let's just put it on the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, even the tires, we're gonna take off of it and just, so, all right. Next thing, talking about the CARES Act, we do have, just an update. All of the expenses, the COVID-19 expenses that we have turned into the state have been paid, correct, Steve? And they're back in the county coffers, so it's all working pretty good. The highway department has asked for computers that they need to be able to operate remotely in, if the highway department gets shut down because of COVID-19. And it involves 3 computers, and to be set up to where basically they're all in one computers, to where they just unplug it, take it home, and take their phones home, and they can operate just from home, just like they are from the office. And with that also is a laptop that that they can do their road. What's the name of that program, Steve? Pacer. Yes, their Pacer program. They can do it remotely, so they can operate. So the total of that and set up with Monday is, you have it in 3 different things here, is
$8,456.50.
How much?
8456.50.
He had it in 3 here, I didn't have it added up. So what I need is I can approve this from the CARES Act money, but then I would need approval from the Board of Commissioners within 7 days, correct, Chris? So I'll go ahead and just ask for a motion tonight to go ahead and approve that out of the CARES Act money.
Okay. You wanna do it?
Yeah, I can. I talked to Steve about it and he explained everything. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion made, second carried, 3-0. Go ahead and call that money. Chris, Steve, do we need to get this pre-approved again, or are you confident that it's approved? Okay, all right. All right. Next thing on the agenda, Teresa Canberg.
Yes, I just wanted to bring to your attention that the meeting schedule that was prepared at the beginning of the year was incorrect for your second meeting of this month. The third Tuesday is actually next Tuesday, September 15th, and not the 22nd, as it was noted on the schedule. I did update the website to note that the meeting is the 15th and not the 22nd. So I just wanted to bring that to anyone's attention that needed to know, including yours.
Okay, thank you. Well, then that covers next meeting. Any miscellaneous?
Yeah, I did want to bring up, Tom, the
Tax
the
deferral.
president, issued this memorandum directing, the withholding of taxes and all that, so I wanted to bring that up. So that's the issue where you can defer, an employer can defer withholding on certain taxes. The State Board of Accounts has basically said it's the county commissioner's decision on whether that should occur or not. What we need to keep in mind here is that if the county did withhold that money, they have to make that up next year, between January and April of next year. So it's not that the employee never has to pay it, it just puts it off for a while, and which means you're essentially doubling up the withholding during the first 4 months of next year to make up for what you did not withhold during this time frame. There's also a risk of how you handle that if an employee were to leave employment between now and then. You have not paid in all the taxes you were supposed to pay. You're going to have to make that up somehow.
Even the employee?
Yeah, yes.
The county will make that
The
part
county
up.
will have to make that part up. So,
So if someone leaves, then the county has to pay their share, but if they don't leave, then the employee has to pay their share.
that's my understanding of things.
Yeah,
That's the way
that
I
could be a
read it, too.
mess. Yeah.
So, a lot of counties, it appears, I can't say a lot. Some of the counties I'm aware of, it appears, are making the decision not to do the deferral. I know other employers are also making that decision, but it's your all's decision which way you want to go on that. Pam, when would that start normally?
It would have started September 1, so it's kind of on the paychecks we're working on now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, since there was no work stoppage for the county employees, my opinion is that there was no hardship that this is trying to correct. So in my opinion, we should defer it, or should not defer. Defer the deferral, not defer it.
Well, I'll agree with you because I think we can make a hardship next year on them,
Yes.
even though it's all even, but it's still.
Well, not really. If you don't pay in September to December, then your tax burden still remains the same. You could have to pay in your taxes this year and get a refund next year. That very well could happen. It could cause our employees to have to pay in at the end of 2020.
Exactly. Really,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
That's okay, I won't be here after December.
he's one that's gonna cost the county money.
I started thinking about that.
So you're voting for it then?
Huh?
You gonna vote for it then?
Oh, no, I'll let you guys go. I won't get Pam mad at me.
No, probably not a good idea. So. So I'll entertain a motion or more discussion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made, second carried 3-0, not to
Not to do
defer
it. Thank you.
payroll.
That's all I had.
And then all I have is, this is your recommendation to the council that you made back on July the 6th meeting, where you actually had no recommendation, but I still have to prepare the form for the council to look at. It's mandatory by state. I still have to prepare it, and then there's a place for you guys to sign off on that.
Okay,
Okay?
all right.
Warren has something.
Yeah, I got something to do.
Yes, sir?
I'm needing a, you want me to come up there?
Please.
Yes, please.
I'd like for the county to put a sign up at 33rd and Tell Street somewhere directing people where the coroner's office is. Because the people that's come to the coroner's office has no idea where it's at. They're going into the front of the annex. They're bothering the nurses or Kim. And then they have to escort them through all the equipment that Steve's got in the big part of the annex. It'd be a lot simpler if they just come to the back door where the van's parked and where the office is. But I'd like to have a sign put out there stating coroner's office, pointing that towards the coroner's office.
Steve, is that something you could make up?
We could make a 2-foot by 18-inch sign. I would probably need to get the city permission to put there on, that would be in the city limits, so I would probably need to get their permission to put it up. You know, it might, it's on the lake, you know, tall, like the road name signs.
Well, it's not big enough where they can actually see it
Yeah,
and
it's
know
all
what they're.
green background. It's, that's the only ones we can make at the garage, the rest of them we have to order.
Okay, well, I went to Logos and asked them to draw me out a sketch somebody. He hasn't done it yet because he's been on vacation over the weekend. Because I talked to Teresa earlier, and I think, Steve might know, didn't Logos make the other signs for the annex?
Oh, either way, is the ones that Steve has for road name signs big enough?
It probably is,
How big are the letters? Are the letters big?
I can adjust them. The sign is I said 18 inches, it's 8 inches tall and 2 foot long, and I can adjust the size of the lettering.
so it's long and short.
Mm-hmm.
I can measure it out and see, but I just feel that we need something so people will know where to go to.
Do you think you need one right on the door too? When they drive up, they'll see which door to go into?
Actually, I've got a corner star that I thought about just putting on that back door. So it really wouldn't have to be a sign. The corner star, I think, are about $6 a piece, and I've got one next one right now that I can put on the door. It's just giving some idea of where they need to go. I've had people show up in the evening, especially funeral homes, come and pick bodies up. They'll call me and said, well, there's no one here. Well, where you at? Well, we're sitting out front of the annex. Well, no, it's in the back of the building. And because a lot of the funeral homes away from here, they pick bodies up 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. They don't run regular business hours, and they're sitting out front. I'm sitting out back waiting for them, and sometimes we're killing half hour, 45 minutes, just trying to make connection of 30 yards.
Yeah, I mean, do you care to
I can get
stop out and see Steve and they'd show you what he can do?
Yeah, that'd be all right. Or I can catch him sometime out there.
Yeah,
So-
and then they could put it up, but somebody, either you or will have to call the city and get permission.
Yeah.
Because it's a city street.
Right.
Is there enough parking out back for somebody to park here outside the overhead doors? Okay.
Yeah.
We don't want to block them because there are emergency vehicles coming
No,
out.
the white fence back there,
There's enough right next to it.
there's enough.
Okay.
It's not gonna be like there's gonna be 3 or 4 people parking there. Usually it's just one person. And a lot of times, like I said, it's just another funeral home. They just pull back in next to the coroner's van to load and unload the body, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Steve, did you have something
I
miscellaneous?
just wanted to let you guys know that bridge on Doolittle Mills, we had a delay because they have to move the water line. They're gonna start on that this coming Monday. That road will be closed probably 60 days.
60 days. And what road is that?
Doolittle Mills.
And
It's,
for the newspaper, I mean,
Would you repeat that?
Doolittle
so
Mills Road,
it's heard?
40, County Road 40. And also our community crossings, they finished the shouldering up Friday on that, so all of our community crossings work is done for this year.
good.
Okay, I got a question for Steve. Here, 3 or 4 meetings ago, we did an unofficial detour off of 145.
Yes,
Are they still gonna do that bridge estate?
as far as I know, they're going to.
Okay, I heard they wasn't, but I just heard that through.
I can try to get hold of Brian tomorrow and find out.
Yeah,
They haven't said anything telling me different.
Okay, I just heard through another meeting I had that they postponed it for a year or two, so I haven't heard anything else, so, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, next meeting is the 15th. Thanks, everyone.
I'll get that card.
Okay,
First page, get right to you. What's this?
These are agreements, these are on our 40